The majority of House Republicans just voted against a bill that would protect marriage equality. Now, the legislation, which did pass the House, was titled the Respect for Marriage Act, and it actually passed in a 267 to 157 vote, with 47 Republicans joining all of the Democrats in supporting a measure that would basically enshrine same-sex marriage protections. Now, the measure first calls for the repeal of the Defense of Marriage Act, DOMA. That is a bill, of course, that a Democrat, former President Bill Clinton, signed into law that recognized marriage as only a legal union between one man and one woman as husband and wife. It would also require that individuals be considered married if they were wed in a state where marriage was legal, and gives the Attorney General authority to launch civil action against any individual who violates it, and allows the individual to take civil action if their rights as laid out in the bill happen to be breached. Now, the question here is why? Why do they need this? Well, it's basically a way, again, to codify the rights enshrined in Obergefell, because Republicans have already eyed Obergefell. Look, after killing Roe, Clarence Thomas said, hey, look, you know what? We ought to revisit some of those decisions that were based on the same underlying principle as Roe. So there's several. There's Lawrence v. Texas. There's the one that enshrined the ability for couples to have contraception. There's all these different decisions, as well of course, as Obergefell. So now, before Roe, remember, Republicans promised not to go after same-sex marriage. But now all of a sudden, after that decision, after Roe was overturned, we had Republicans coming out and openly saying, oh, same-sex marriage? We're coming after it.
And then they try to, well, they might overturn Obergefell. First of all, Obergefell is a bad Supreme Court decision. And if we had a Supreme Court with itself, they would overturn Obergefell.
In Obergefell, the court said, no, we know better than you guys do. And now every state must sanction and permit gay marriage. I think that decision was clearly wrong when it was decided. It was the court overreaching.
Opposing marriage equality is literally in the Republican platform as well. So, again, it's not enough for them to go after reproductive rights. They need to go after more. You know why? Because they're not going to be happy until they strip all the rights, all the gains that Americans have made since the 1800s. Now, that said, the whole point, of course, is to inflict as much misery on people that are not straight white Christians and straight white Christian males specifically as possible. They can't stand it when people have freedom. That said, 47 Republicans, got to give them credit here. They actually did vote the right way for once. And so, again, I'll give them credit for doing the right thing. Now, one of them was Nancy Mace. She's a Republican. Here's what she said in a statement, quote, I always have and always will support the right of any American to marry. This vote is no different. I believe any two people, regardless of the color of their skin or gender or orientation or otherwise, should be free to enter into a marriage together. If gay couples want to be as happily or miserably married as straight couples, more power to them. All right. So, hey, that's great. That's a fun statement. That's a good statement. That's a Republican. All right. Credit where credit is due. We're fair on this show. Now, here's another one that's, again, voted the right way, but I don't really agree with the reasons, or I should say with his personal opinion, but that's fine. We don't have to agree. And besides, he did the right thing. Here's Representative Don Bacon. He said that while he believes in the traditional definition of marriage, he does not believe the government should dictate who can marry each other based on gender, race, or ethnicity. Again, doing the right thing. Even though he has personal beliefs that are different, that's great. If only they would have applied that to, I don't know, the Roe decision, which is essentially the same thing. He noted that he made this decision to vote yes after talking to faith and community leaders, saying Americans should have the right to their private lives. Again, I wish that applied to women. The Supreme Court showed that all viewpoints can be respected. Again, this is called freedom. Representative Peter Meyer of Michigan said this, quote, I voted in favor of this thing tonight. I think it's the right choice from a limited government standpoint. fair enough, from a liberty standpoint, and frankly, just from avoiding any circumstance where that type of chaos could come down the line. Now, there are other notable Republican yes votes. They include Liz Cheney. Liz Cheney, of course, has a younger sister who is gay. Now, Cheney also came out not like too recently, but recently enough to apologize for opposing same-sex marriage. Okay, that's good. That's evolution on an issue. And, you know, look, I applaud that. There are a lot of things that Liz Cheney has done that I don't agree with, that I think that she's has some monstrous views on foreign policy. But this is good. And she's also been doing a pretty good job leading the January 6th committee investigation and hearings. And so credit, again, where credit is due. Other votes that are yes with the Democrats to protect same-sex marriage. Adam Kinzinger, not surprised here. Michigan Republican Fred Upton, also interesting. And weirdly enough, Elise Stefanik. Huh. Weird. Now, that said, a senior GOP aide did tell Axios that House Republican leadership did not advise members on how to vote. So they said, hey, just do whatever you want. Vote your conscience. It's going to pass anyway. And so, hey, look, you still had yes, no. And I think that's also an important point to point out, where you didn't have any pressure from Republican leadership. They said, just go ahead and vote whatever you want. And so, okay. Well, 47 Republicans ended up siding for freedom and marriage equality. Great. But then that also leaves the 157 that voted against freedom. People like Representative Jim Jordan, ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee, who called this bill completely unnecessary. Really? Taking that line from Ben Shapiro. Oh, yeah, you think they're going to come after it? Yeah, I do. You know why? Because you had Supreme Court justices in their confirmation hearings who literally lied about Roe. Oh, it's established precedent for 50 years. We're not going to undo established precedent. Oh, except that they actually did. They lied. They lied to get on the court. They lied under oath. So, yes, Republicans lie. I know. Amazing, right? I've just discovered the discovery of the century. Republicans lie. No, everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. Now, Jim Jordan also said that it was an attempt by Democrats to, quote, delegitimize and intimidate the United States Supreme Court. Get off it. Jim Jordan is the last person to talk about, well, pretty much anything, especially delegitimizing. I believe Jim Jordan tried to delegitimize the results of the 2020 election. Shut up. As for the necessary, the necessity of passing this bill, well, look, this is Congress doing their job to enshrine same-sex marriage rights, something that they had the opportunity to do so with Roe, but Democrats didn't. And I think that's very interesting. Representative Mike Johnson, a constitutional law attorney, said the legislation was, quote unquote, fear-mongering, and read Alito's assurance in the majority opinion. But once again, I'm going to go back to they're liars. I don't believe anything that they say. I don't believe Republicans. I don't believe members of the Supreme Court. Gorsuch, Amy Coney Barrett, Thomas, Alito. I don't believe any of the conservatives on the court. They're all liars. And so, no, I'm not going to believe in their, assurance, right? No, you can take your assurances and shove them up your ass for as good as they're doing. Okay? So now, that said, this vote, I mean, it was good because, look, the problem is that this is going to go to the Senate, and there's no guarantee it's going to pass. There's no guarantee it's going to pass Republicans. Again, because Republicans in the Senate will likely block everything. Don't know that for sure, but knowing how Republicans are in the Senate, very, I'm not thinking that it's going to pass at all. But it's still good to see it in the House, to see Republicans actually be put on the record to vote for their conscience. And here's 157 Republicans going on the record and saying, we're not for freedom. We want to control your lives. We want to control who you have sex with and who you marry. That's a damning indictment for this party, who claims to be pro-freedom and pro-individual liberty.